Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lawrence?
Here.
Trustee Lawler?
Here.
Trustee Lieblet?
Here.
Trustee Healy?
Here.
Trustee Katsinas is ill tonight. Trustee Malani?
Here.
Mayor Dodge.
Here.
Time of the meeting is 6 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the August 18th, 2025 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Lawler.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole of August 18th, 2025.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lawler?
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence?
Aye.
Trustee Lieblet?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye.
Approved. Non-scheduled citizens and visitors for agenda-specific public comment.
Jen. Kate, about Evergreen.
Hi, I'm Kate Bernhardt. I've lived in Evergreen View for 14 years. I have a son in college, and I've walked my dogs at the park on a regular basis since I've moved here. I'd like to voice my opinions on the park proposal. First, our playground equipment could stand an upgrade, a subtle, tasteful design that reflects the neighborhood aesthetic and blends in with the natural surroundings. I'd like to see wood mulch continue to be used and an improved, upgraded sandbox area. Second, the bocce ball area could be better utilized. A single enclosed pickleball-only court with permanent, low-maintenance, shaded seating adds more value than permanent bag courts or bocce ball. I refer you to the courts off 191st Street in Mokina as a large-scale example. Third, more water fountains and garbage cans are a big yes when it comes to our dogs. I beg of you to consider installing signs on the trail outlining pet ownership expectations. I volunteer at PAWS, have participated in dog sports, and have been heavily involved in rescue for over 20 years, and I am a hard no on a dog park. A number of dog parks already exist in the area, including Orland Park's Dog Out. Most Evergreen View pet parents have or know someone with a fenced-in yard, so a dog park holds little local value. For the most part, the dog owners around the park are knowledgeable and respectful of each other's pets and personalities. Dog parks become regional draws and open communities to owners who may not meet our pet ownership standards, thus increasing chances of injury. Segueing off of that, the personnel running Thursday's meeting said the suggested improvements would not increase outside traffic to our park. My adjacent neighbors and I fully support this goal, as we do not want our neighborhood park becoming more of a regional draw, and I do not feel that 10% replying to a survey is representative of our neighborhood. There has been a noticeable uptick in non-residents using our pavilion for large parties. They make a mess and leave their garbage, including the occasional hot charcoal, in or around the permanent barbecue structure. The addition of a splash pad would incentivize, not deter, outside usage, potentially making the situation worse, and directly oppose the goal of keeping our neighborhood park as our neighborhood park. It is disingenuous to state, if done subtly to match the neighborhood, it would be acceptable. That consensus was not reached at the meeting I attended. At Thursday's meeting, a resident supported a splash pad so they wouldn't have to drive their grandchildren to Frankfurt. I clocked it, and basically they were willing to drive a half an hour for Frankfurt's free splash pad versus 10 minutes to our paid community pool. I don't think it was their intention to strengthen my "if you build it, they will come" argument. If the village truly believes a splash pad brings value to a community without increasing non-residential usage, I'm sure you'd agree it makes sense to build one in an area servicing a large number of Orland Park households with school-aged children. The number of kiddos waiting on corners for buses every morning in Evergreen View has significantly declined to a fraction of what it was 5 to 10 years ago. If the true goal of the splash pad is to accommodate children between the ages of 2 and 12, Evergreen View is not the optimal location, and I encourage you to research the demographics of nearby Brentwood and Heritage parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that Leanne?
I think it's Leanne.
Leanne, am I getting that right? There you go.
Thank you. I'm speaking to you today not only as,
Could we just have you introduce yourself,
Oh,
your full
sure.
name? Thank you.
first time I've done this
No, it's all
25
right. Don't be
years.
nervous. We're not that harsh.
Okay. My name is Leanne Burke.
Okay?
I speak to you today not only as a resident, but as a mother and a grandmother. I'm a founding resident of Evergreen View. My husband and I have had the joy of raising our 3 children directly across the street from Evergreen Park. I'm here today to bring attention to a few concerns that many residents, especially those who don't live near the park, may not be aware of. First and foremost, safety. The roads surrounding the park are very unsafe, with cars often speeding around the curves. The 3 stop signs at 141st and Boxwood exist because of my efforts after years of cut-through traffic from 143rd to 135th. Yet drivers still fail to stop. Over the past 23 years, my neighbors, many of which are here today, and I have witnessed countless near misses at that intersection. Add in school buses, rush hour traffic cutting through, emergency vehicles trying to get to Palos Hospital. And it's clear that more cars parking near the park will only make things worse and more unsafe. Our neighborhood was first built, when our neighborhood was first built, we were promised a passive park, a place with a playground, but otherwise meant for peace and relaxation. Mayor Dodge, back then you were at that meeting, of course in a different capacity. We were told many activities would change the park's character. And now that's exactly what's being proposed. A splash pad may be a wonderful idea, but not here. It would increase traffic, block emergency vehicles, and destroy the calm natural beauty that so many adults use the park to enjoy, people like us. Every day I see people meditating, relaxing, just sitting quietly on a bench. We have so many memorial benches, sadly. That serenity will be lost if we turn Evergreen Park into a noisy, crowded attraction. We must also be realistic. After dark, the park already attracts vandalism. A splash pad would be damaged within weeks. Who will pay for repeated repairs? Grants or all of us? A safer option would be to place the splash pad in a more secure recreational area with proper supervision and perhaps a fee or a membership. Finally, before moving forward, I urge you to conduct a traffic study of the roads around Evergreen Park and the 4 entrances to Evergreen View. The data will confirm what residents already know. We are overwhelmed with unsafe high-speed traffic. May I continue?
For a little bit. Finish up, please.
Okay. In closing, I'm not asking to keep the park just for Evergreen View residents. People from all over enjoy it every day. And shouldn't parks be designed for everybody, not just kids? What we ask is that you preserve the park's beauty, safety, and integrity so it can remain peaceful for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Susan? You could just, you could move the microphone if you need to. Just state your name if you would.
Good evening. My name is Susan Morris, and I've been a resident of Orland Park and Evergreen View for 21 years. Like many of my neighbors, I strongly support improvements to the Evergreen View Park. It's been over 15 years since the original design. Many of us sat in meetings like this back then, including Mayor Dodge, and we welcome updates that will make this park a true multi-generational space. Enhancements like upgraded playgrounds, more seating, landscaping, pickleball, walking paths, and even golf elements would benefit residents of all ages of Orland Park and beyond. But I and many of my neighbors are firmly opposed to adding a splash pad. Our concerns are significant: limited parking, increased traffic and safety risks, lack of supervision, seasonal use for only 1/3 of the year for more than half of the park proposed improvements, and the fact that it would be the first of its kind splash pad in Orland Park located inside a neighborhood park rather than a central facility such as Centennial or John Humphrey. Nearby towns with splash pads, including Tinley Park, Frankfurt, Hickory Hills, Lamont, and others, have placed these splash pads away from residential neighborhoods. Almost all of these facilities have fencing, and all have bathrooms and designated parking. Some even charge admission for their splash pads. The Evergreen View proposal has none of these elements to them. There's a reason other towns do not place their splash pads in residential neighborhoods. There are also maintenance and liability concerns. For example, Lamont's splash pad, very similar to what's being proposed, was closed multiple times this year alone due to flooding and vandalism. Their boulders have even been described in social media as death traps for children to play at. Is Orland Park ready for those same risks and concerns? That's for you to decide. Due process has also been a concern as part of this park improvement. From the first notice to tonight's meeting, there have been only 8 working days. That's hardly enough time for a meaningful community input on a $1.2 million 2-year project. Other OSLAD projects like Dugan Fork Park were afforded much more time than has been for Evergreen View. At a resident meeting on August 25th, more than 50 neighbors attended, yet only 1 or 2 supported the splash pad of any kind. Even after the decreased size was discussed, the vast majority remained opposed. And yet the plan shown tonight looks unchanged in size and significant concerns remain. Finally, transparency matters. Survey results were posted on August 31st to show 98 responses, although the survey is still active as of today. Some of the presentation slides changed even as early as this morning, but the survey did.
Keep going.
That
Finish
raises
up, please.
questions. Are our voices truly being heard? In closing, I respectfully ask the board to reconsider the splash pad element. Please weigh the safety, liability, and long-term maintenance risks, and above all, listen to the overwhelming feedback from the Evergreen View community. We want improvements, but we want them done responsibly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I hope everyone's going to stay because we're going to take this item up in a couple of minutes. We got a few things to address first on the agenda, so we'll come back to this, but thank you for the comments.
Items for separate action. Number 1, ordinance amending Title I, Administration, Chapter 16, Procurement, Sections 1-16-3, 1-16-7, and 1-16-8 regarding authorization and methods for procurements.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Lawler?
I move to recommend the village board to adopt an ordinance entitled Ordinance Amending Title I, Administration, Chapter 16, Procurement, Sections 1-16-3, 1-16-7, and 1-16-8, regarding authorization and methods for procurements.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? George, do you want to give a brief background on what we're doing with this ordinance in terms of disclosures?
Absolutely. So the village currently has a ethics ordinance in place. And what this ordinance does is it strengthens that ordinance by requiring vendors, not just elected, appointed officials, but vendors, to disclose business relationships that they have with elected officials, the village manager, and department directors. So these business relationships would go back 10 years, would be for any amount above $2,500, and would also require vendors to disclose if they're anticipating a relationship with elected officials, village manager, or department directors in the coming 12 months.
So thank you, George. Making sure everyone understands, which is this is going to have the vendors disclose if they have an economic relationship with any elected officials or senior staff. This does not address political contributions, which is governed by a separate body of law. This is analogous to what they do in the city of Chicago, correct? That's correct, yes. And so this definitely strengthens and answers a number of questions as to what vendors may or may not have relationships with members of the board or George or your senior staff.
Correct.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any
Mr.
comments
Mayor.
or questions? Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Leafblad?
So this to me, so what I appreciate about this, among other things, is that it does, more steps toward transparency in the sense that any vendor has to disclose this relationship as they are, submitting any kind of, any kind of proposal to the village. And, this is something I don't think that we have now. So I like it. I think it's definitely a good amendment.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Lawrence?
And this also applies for elected officials and for village managers and directors also?
Correct. It's George.
It's two-way, right?
And so, yeah, so the vendor has to disclose if they have a business relationship with elected officials, with the village manager, and department directors. And on the flip side, the elected officials, the village manager, and the department directors also have to disclose.
And the cutoff is $2,500, is that right?
Correct? Over the last 10 years.
Okay. And will elected officials be able to consult with the village attorney for anything that we might have questions about?
Absolutely. So as part of this ordinance, part of the existing ethics ordinance, there are two key players in this. There's the ethics officer who reviews ethics complaints, and then there's the ethics advisor. And the advisor is exactly that, is to provide advice when you have a question on any of these type of ethics concerns, that's what the advisor's role is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy?
I don't know if it's encouraging that we're following the city of Chicago's ethics ordinances. It's not known for the best and best practices, okay? So that's one bothering. I mean, I'd like to know, are these forms FOIable?
Yeah, well, they're FOIable, and the ordinance as it's written allows the village to put them on the website.
So my client, I'm an accountant, as my clients do business with the village, everybody can see my pricing, what I give people, and a discount here or an extra charge. They're gonna be able to see my pricing. Not too many people here have a private business like I do. And going back 10 years, I have no idea. Does this also include, when we vote on taxes, I mean, people who live in Orland pay taxes, and there's a relationship there too. I mean, there's a lot of things on the fringes. Jim had done some work as a subcontractor for a guy who was bidding on work. Now that would not fall under this disclosure, would it?
I'm going to turn it over to Mike. What do you think, Mike, on that? The question is, if someone subcontracts with somebody, so maybe while you're thinking about that, this is about actual or potential so actual or perceived. So there is going to be those types of questionable. And that's where the ethics advisor is going to have to play a role.
So we could disclose this, although we don't have to, and then it's out for public domain. I just don't think it's necessary. I just wonder about the constitutionality of it. It seems like a burden on a self-employed person like I am. I resent, people looking into my business. We deal in confidentiality in my business. And it's such an important thing that we don't want, nobody needs to know. And yet here, you're forcing that to come out. I guess this thing, it's, the FOIable part of this is just really bothering. And did I see that, what if there's a mistake on here? There's no teeth to this? If a vendor doesn't do this, it's not.
And that's a very good question. This is a disclosure requirement. So someone discloses it has no merit, no bearing on whether they get the contract or not. So where it does become an issue is if somebody purposely does not disclose the relationship that finds out, then the village finds out later.
So if I do a construction contractor and I do the owner's work and his tax return, and then someone underneath them, at the year end in April, and then October, the estimator gets a contract and bids out, he doesn't know who does the owner's tax return. It's confidential, unless they look at the Orland FOIA. And in that case, he doesn't know that, but when I would see that, I would see, well, there's a conflict of interest. Many times I've looked at the disbursement list and go, gosh, I've got a client on here, I can't okay that. I've got to abstain from that. I don't even know that they're bidding on a job. I don't even know that they get the job. I'm hands off with that. Some people are more hands on. I don't get that either. But anyway, I have a lot of issues with this, and I just don't. It could. We could encourage people to run for office, not discourage them. So I just have a lot of problems with that. And so it goes to the ethics officer, but it's just not kept confidential. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Lawrence?
I have a question. Maybe this question is for George. In the disclosure, does it require that someone like Mr. Healy specify his billing rates, or just that he has a business relationship with an individual, and that business relationship exceeds, I guess, the $2,500 limit?
So currently, also attached is, in Legistar, is a draft of the disclosure form. And I'm going to ask Tad if he can go to Legistar. It's the first attachment. So the things that are on there are obviously the name of the official, the nature of the relationship, the monetary value or benefit received. So it wouldn't necessarily be the per hour or whatever the relationship is, but it would be a total monetary value.
Excuse me, is it possible that an appropriate answer could be considered greater than $2,500 or equal to or greater than? Would that be?
And that's a very good point. We're at the committee of the whole right now introducing this. And so it's not going to be voted on at the board tonight. So there could be those types of recommendations to make the changes to make it more palatable.
If Trustee Lawrence, if your idea is to raise that level so it's not unduly burdensome, I don't have a problem with that.
No, the idea was not to disclose the exact amount of his relationship with the other. I don't know if that's important.
I don't think that was ever the intent. It's like, do you not have a business relationship that exceeds a threshold, yes or no?
Very good. We can make that change. And then I guess to clarify, the threshold right now is $2,500, and the board can adjust that threshold as well as part of these deliberations.
Mr. Mayor?
Say that. I'm sorry, just, Mike, please tell the board that.
On certain items, it's 7.5% or $7,500 on state law. So I almost would suggest that you might want to make that consistent, the 2,500, and that's up for the board's decision, but that would be more consistent with others. So you don't have a sliding scale. I mean, we've talked about other disclosures and other types of interest. So that's what I would recommend, George, but that's just, my opinion.
And that threshold, of course, is the prerogative of the board. You're working on this policy, so that's what this discussion's about.
And I would suggest that an hourly rates not be included in it.
I think
just the total cost. Thank you, Mayor.
I think sounds like setting the threshold at above 7,500, and it's just yes or no. Does an elected official, does a staff member have a relationship with the ABC Corporation? And then it's similar from the other side. This is not about rummaging around the economics. It's 0 or 1. Yes or no, you have a relationship with the vendor who's bidding on village business.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Leaflet.
I agree with this because I think that in our role here, it is important to disclose our business relationships. And I don't think that this is intended to have any kind of chilling effect or discourage anybody from running a local business and holding office. What it's designed to do is to make sure that it's disclosed. So people know, hey, this, because it's better to know than to have a suspicion, and then a suspicion grows. When you just know, oh, okay, this person, I don't know, did accounting services. Okay, I can live with that. It's not meant to be. It's always in the spirit of more transparency and more, more clarity in terms of relationships of public officials with businesses. And in my eyes, I don't think that being more transparent is a bad thing.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
just a quick clarification. We are talking about the businesses need to fill this out to show whether or not they have a conflict of interest. Am I understanding this correctly?
That's correct, and the reverse as well.
And the reverse. Okay, thank you. So it is not just for the businesses, which if you read this, it's kind of what it is. I'm talking, please. Thank you. So if this is, we need better wording on this, first of all. And I also agree that the 7,500 makes more sense because it's consistent. But I don't think these are going to come flying in on a regular basis. We're going to be overwhelmed with these forms, right? We're dealing with a certain set of vendors. Only some of them may or may not have conflicts of interest, and they'll disclose them, right? So.
Yeah, especially I think if you set it at $7,500, obviously between $2,500 and $7,500, there's a greater chance that there is going to be a financial relationship at that point. But I believe you're right. At $7,500, we're going to have a lot less of these disclosure forms.
Yeah, but I do think the language needs to be cleared up a little bit to make sure that this is supposed to be reciprocal, that this is supposed to be village officials filling this out as well, because I don't think that's really clear. At least in the legislative text. Maybe in the ordinance, if I break out my attorney hat, which I don't have.
Will
All right.
Thank you.
Trustee Leafblad, did you want to be recognized?
Yes, I do. This particular ordinance is for the business to disclose any relationship. And right on the form, it says, submission of a disclosure doesn't preclude a vendor from being awarded a contract. It's just a disclosure. I think when we talk about, yes, the reciprocal disclosure, what we're talking about is if a business relationship disclosure form is submitted by a vendor, by a business, then it behooves the official who is named to then acknowledge that there's the relationship. So this form is not for both sides to fill out. It's for the business, the vendor to fill out.
Mike?
Well, one, if the ordinance, Trustee Malani and Trustee Leafblad, if the ordinance, while the form may be vague, but if we look at the ordinance, 1-16-17 deals with the vendor, and then it's reciprocal, and 1-16-18 is for the official. So it is reciprocal in the ordinance. I think the form probably needs to be modified quite a bit, but to make sure that there's a form for the official as well. But keep in mind that you already have obligations under Statement of Economic Interest as well, that need to be filed with the state and the county, actually the county. So that's not dissimilar to what your obligations are for the Statement of Economic Interest as officials.
And Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani?
just one question. 19 was already in there. I think we've just modified the wording, correct? We're only adding 17 and 18, correct?
Correct.
So we were already under the obligation and the responsibility to disclose a interest, if we had one. As trustee Healy mentioned, he does it on a regular basis because people show up on the accounts payable, right? So he acknowledges he has a conflict or an interest in whatever is being voted on, and he abstains. So that's how we've been doing it in the past. We're going to continue that in the future, would be my guess.
Absolutely. So
We have to fill out a form every time we're having a meeting.
the form will be a requirement if there is a business relationship over 7,500 over the last 10 years.
Okay. I mean, this doesn't matter much to me because I don't have any conflicts of interest, but I mean, it's just, I want to make sure that everybody is clear because I think there's a little nebulous still there, so. Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy?
7,500, is that 750 a year for 10 years? Or is it 7,500 a year?
It is, and we will clarify all these things. These are good questions and it's good feedback. I would imagine it's 7,500 per vendor per year.
Yeah, per year, otherwise it's undue
Okay, and
burdensome.
number two, the trustees that are not self-employed on here don't understand self-employment, I'll tell you that right now. I would look at every one of these things to find out what the relationship is, because it gives me a better sense, it would give me an inside look at some of the ongoings in local business, who's doing contracts with what. If I see somebody doing something there, I can say, hey, how come you're not bidding on that job or whatever? This other guy's getting all the work. I mean, that's business. You take information and you use it. And this is unnecessary. There's got to be a better way. Another thing is that I hate to remind you, but in the our dearest ex-mayor's wife, Betty Peacow, was a teacher in Hickory Hills or Palos Hills. Her students received, her students were sent messages, it's my understanding that her students were sent messages saying that she hates Arab children, and the school is predominantly Arab. This was done by, I believe, that one of those nemesis robocall people. I think we all know who I'm talking about. He would have a field day with this if he wanted to destroy my business, anybody's business, with that, by doing the legwork to do that, just the nature of these people. So it's just, there are people out there who would do some really bad things about that. And, you know, I thank God I'm at the end of my business career. I only got a couple more years to go. But how are you going to get people who are self-employed to have input on this trustee thing? They're going to be at a negative thing, and you're going to lose the independent person with a little bit knowledge of how business goes. Maybe, John, maybe you could speak to that if you're self-employed.
Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Lawler?
So as someone who's been self-employed my whole life as well, I do see your concerns, and just so everybody is clear on it, I think part of the purpose of this is impropriety. Like, for instance, I would say, if I'm understanding it correctly, I'm someone who builds houses. So if I have someone, a friend of mine, who does my concrete for me, you know, and he comes to the village and he starts doing business and puts in for a village bid to do concrete work, he has a relationship with me, so I could just, you know, lie, which I'm not going to do, but maybe sometimes some public officials that we've seen around the, you know, in other municipalities and state of Illinois and the country, they lie and they don't disclose that they have a relationship. So I think as a double check, we're basically stating that, well, if this other individual who has a relationship with me, I could not acknowledge it, but we're kind of saying you better acknowledge it because, you know, if we catch you, you know, you technically, you know, there could be some impropriety there. And that's what we want to stop, so people in Orland Park aren't necessarily paying more for, you know, or in other vendors, you know, being part of unfair bidding processes. So, and to make sure that we're not overpaying for certain things because I'm awarding a bid to someone I know, you know, even though I didn't disclose a relationship with him. So I see your point on this, that in some cases, yes, some people could use this information and it could be damaging to your business. And I think we need to look at the language to really look at, you know, putting some rules behind it. But I think the meat and bone, meat behind the idea of this is to stop this impropriety. So, I mean, I agree, I'm for it, but at the same time, I think we need to expand the language on it and put some rules to the ordinance.
Any other comments or questions? Because I think this has been helpful conversation for Trustee Healy. You'd appreciate if you would submit in writing some of your comments to staff and the attorney so they could redraft this, and we'll bring it back at a future committee of the whole to discuss it one more time before it goes to the board. So given that it's an open item, do we need to table this?
We never made a motion.
There was a motion to
Oh, yes.
approve it, so yeah, you will need to table it.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Just a motion to table, go ahead.
Yes, I move to table this issue.
Second.
So motion to table. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Leaflet.
Aye.
Trustee Lawler.
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence. Aye. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye.
Motion is tabled.
Excuse me.
Hold on. Okay. Number 2, ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 16, Section 1-16-7 of the Orland Park Municipal Code, incorporating changes pertaining to responsible bidder ordinance.
George, you want to provide a little background from the board?
Yep, we got a little PowerPoint. So, what does a responsible bidder ordinance do? It promotes fair, open, and competitive bidding, and it establishes clear standards, and it's meant to protect taxpayer dollars. So, currently, the village has a de facto responsible bidder ordinance. So, we just talked about the disclosure forms. Once it's approved, it will become part of our template contracts. And what we have now in our template contracts, and for any bidder or proposer, is that they have to complete this responsible bidder ordinance. So what it does is, now, our current responsible bidder ordinance has been in place for at least as long as I've been here, so I don't know how many years. But there is no ordinance behind it. So it's been part of our, like I said, de facto purchasing process without an actual ordinance. So a couple of things that a responsible bidder ordinance does is the licensing, past performance, the insurance. So those are things that we currently do already. Adhering to all the federal, state, local laws, same thing, we do all of that. Where responsible bidder ordinance also requires participation in an apprenticeship and a training program. So for the trades, the responsible bidders are those that would actually participate in those apprenticeship programs. So what does it do for the village? It ensures qualified vendors. It encourages workforce development. We know in our economy right now, there's a push for apprenticeship type programs, and this would encourage that type of job development. By having very strong companies, we reduce the risk of project delays, and it strengthens community trust in our procurement process. So here in Illinois, at least 60 taxing bodies have RBOs in place. This is just a list of some of them. Locally, Tinley Park, Oak Lawn, Lockport, Forest Park, they have those. So again, what we're doing is we are codifying something that we have in place right now. We've had it in place, it's not based on any type of ordinance.
Any motion, any comments or questions? Trustee Healy?
George, do all those suburbs you listed, do they all have the same terms on everything? I mean,
Some, it really depends. So some communities, the RBO starts from $1, right? So any contracts with the municipality require to meet the requirements of the RBO. For some, like us, that we're proposing $25,000. For any contract above $25,000, they have to meet that criteria. And that folds well into what we do right now because, as you know, we go out to bid or proposal for anything that's over $25,000. So we just fold that into our regular process. Some municipalities have higher threshold, 50 or 100,000. But in our case, keeping it at 25,000 maintains consistency in our procurement process. So that's where we would recommend that we keep it.
so George, but I'm just saying the terms, like what, to me, cutting through all the gibberish in there, is that this is saying that only union contractors can do work over $25,000 in our village.
So that is one of the complaints on this. Now,
And I'm not sure if all the other suburbs have that in there. It would, from your presentation, it looked like they're all the same. I'm not so sure about that. But when it comes to the union contractors, most of the country has gone non-union, except for a couple major cities like Chicago and, there's certain things. But there's been such an increase in non-union contractors and items that over the last few years, it seems like Chicago's always going against the grain. I don't know if it's too early or too late, the curve, but the union contractors, have you determined how much more we would have to pay for services because of this demanding union contractors? And, but by the way, at the apprentice schools and all that, there are a lot of great things about the union thing, but I've also, seen, it's just very, it can make things difficult, especially for a lot of small contractors, and 25,000 is not that much.
as far as the impact, I would imagine it'd be no impact because we've had this in place. We currently have it in place. We have a responsible bidder ordinance requirement in place right now.
Is the grass cutting under Public Works?
Grass cutting is there, and that is something that there is an exception to. There is no apprentice program for lawn cutting. There is for landscape services when you're doing new landscaping. So it really depends on the type of project.
So we would be Xing out a lot of small business landscapers here in Orland Park.
We would be doing exactly what we're doing right now, or we have been doing for at least the 5 years I've been here. We have this RBO in place right now.
Yeah, it's not hard to get above 25,000 for landscaping, as most of us know, and it's just, again, we're budgeting, we're boxing out small business. We're boxing out some of our fellow taxpayers here in Orland Park saying, you can't bid on it. Why? I don't know why everything's fine as it is, I thought, but, we want to start excluding people, and it's. I just think from the business end of it, the small contractors again are taking it on the chin. I would have to believe that this thing is going to cause more cost than less for the village, and if we could get rid of that union contract thing, I think it would help out the business just starting out or whatever, who's willing to take a lower price to get on the board. There's a lot of good reasons why people do that, and they've got insurance and safety and reputation. Why not? Why can't we use them? So I'm opposed to that union language in there. Probably the wrong night to mention that.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Leafblad.
George, did you say that this has already been in effect for the last 5 years or so?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when it started. It's not abundantly clear when it started. Ever since I've been here, since 2019, this has been a requirement for our procurement.
So this is just basically putting it into words, something that's already been the policy for at least the last 5 years, if not more.
Right. All we're doing is actually backing it up with an ordinance now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani?
yes, we're codifying this and making an ordinance out of it, but the wording is changing. We're adding additional statements in here that are not currently in our purview, right? So the participation in the apprenticeship and the evidence of graduation from an apprenticeship program are not in the existing.
Well,
Is it? Because the evaluation here says that no, it's not, we're adding it.
so the evaluation says no, in the sense that we don't have an ordinance backing it up. In our procurement forms, it's included.
So it's not in the procurement code, but our form says it. Do you have the form handy?
I am sure that our esteemed finance director can get try to locate a draft or a template to RFP very quickly.
Right, because, you know, I would like to see that. It's like, I respect the unions, I respect what they do. I have a laundry list of people in my family that have been part of the union, but I also believe in choice, right? So if we are excluding people that could possibly bid on this just because they're non-union or haven't gone through an apprenticeship program, that limits choice. So I would like to, you know, kind of evaluate this. And I know we're kind of discussing this, we haven't opened this to vote on it yet. So if we're discussing, those are my thoughts.
Any other comments or questions?
Could you go
Mr.
look
Mayor?
right now?
Trustee Lawrence?
I have an open question, not sure who would be qualified to answer this. So this talks about participation in an apprentice and training program that's approved and registered with the United States Department of Labor's Bureau of Apprenticeship and Training, or the Illinois Department of Labor, including graduation of at least 5 apprentices in each of the preceding 5 years. Does someone have to be in a union to have a training program?
No.
So this doesn't mean a small business who has a training program and who gets assistance or guidance from these organizations, they may not be unions. So
That's
it's-
correct.
So it's not necessarily precluding a non-union vendor for bidding on these contracts.
Correct. So there's no union requirement.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy?
I've never heard of personally, in my 50 years of doing accounting for small business, I've never heard of a training program that was not union. I mean, do you know of anyone in particular? I mean, everybody trains everybody for a job, but as far as what they're referring to in here is, and I would ask the lawyer, are they referring to, I mean, with this, they're for the most part talking about union apprenticeship programs and training programs. There's not a lot of exceptions.
Well, you're right in that, and partially, you're right. There are private training, but the majority of the training is done by unions. But the other thing I wanted to add is that you already are requiring prevailing wage, which in your ordinances already on items. So that's similar. That's not dissimilar to union and non-union. So that you already are paying what a union rate would be in the village.
Any other comments or questions? Because if there are no other comments or questions, I'll entertain a motion, but I do want to reemphasize, George, we've been doing this for a while because I personally recall the first time this got brought up was years ago. So I think we've been on this path for a while.
Correct.
You can double check that. I also think that this is not strictly saying it has to be union shops, right?
Correct.
And we're picking a number, the 25,000, that could be raised. Mike, you said it was.
Well, I also represent school districts. The school code's 35,000.
So we have some flexibility on that one, so as to make sure that we're not precluding anybody, but I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody what this is, right? Given everything going on in the world these days, I certainly think that, more training options for young people, not necessarily college, is a good thing. And I'll just make the personal statement. God knows America needs trained workers. So I'm comfortable with this one. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I don't believe there was any motion to open. I think so. We don't need any action whatsoever.
Are we not going to forward this to the board?
Yeah, we are, we need a recommendation, because at the Board of Trustees, this is on the agenda.
Oh, it is on the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, that is, all right. So, if you're gonna, you would want to table it now, and then you would want to table it
No, we want to go forward. We're going to,
Yeah,
is
so
there a
right now, we
motion?
just need a motion and a second.
to go forward at the regular meeting tonight.
Right now, yep.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Lawler?
I move to recommend the village board to adopt an ordinance entitled Ordinance Amending Title I Administration, Chapter 16, Procurement, Section 1-16-7, Construction Bidding and Contracts, establishing criteria for the determination of a responsible bidder for the village construction projects.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other further comments or questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lawler.
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence. Aye. Trustee Leafblat.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
No.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
May I have a motion to consider item 4 next? I think we should talk about Evergreen View Park. Can we take that next?
Item 4.
Yeah, we'll take item 4 next.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Leafblad?
100. It did not come in
Just
fast.
a motion to consider item 4.
Motion to take, you just need a motion to take number 4 out of
I move to take number 4, item number 4 on the agenda out of order.
Second.
So motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Trustee Leafblat.
Aye.
Trustee Lawler.
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence. Aye. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye. Okay.
So number 4 is the Evergreen View Park Conceptual Plan, which is now number 3.
I figured you guys might not want to listen to more municipal ordinance talk. All right, Ray.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Thanks for this opportunity to present the Evergreen View Park Plan. This plan is part of just the conceptualization of Evergreen View Park as a part of the OSLAC grant. At this point, nothing's been decided. As a part of the grant, you have to do community engagement. So we hosted 2 meetings last week. Those meetings and the notification the notification for the meetings was sent just after the last board meeting. We first had to gain board approval for to enter into the OSLAC grant before we did that mailing. So we did that right afterwards. This is Evergreen View Park right here, and you can see in this overview, this is the existing conditions of the park. So we have the playground on the left side, left screen there, left of that pavilion. You see the pavilion there, and then there are swings just to the right of the pavilion. Over to the east in the park, there's a half basketball court, 4 square, and hopscotch, and then there is bocce ball in the path there. The playground is slated for replacement already in 2026, so that is something that Public Works is planning and budgeting for. The swing set is actually going to be replaced this year still. There's planning on replacing that this year. The pavilion itself will also be replaced next year, and that is being planned and budgeted for by Public Works. Again, this is part of the OSLAD grant application. The OSLAD grant is a $600,000 reimbursable grant. Applications are due at the end of this month, which is why we're moving pretty quickly here. So again, we brought this to the board at the last meeting to get approval for the resolution. And the resolution acknowledges that we have the funds to support financially this project. Again, we did 2 engagement meetings. We mailed 908 postcards to residents that live within 1,500 feet of the park. We did social media posts, placed some signs in the park. 54 people attended last Monday, and then on the 28th, we had 9 in attendance. And the meetings were good. There was a lot of engagement in the meetings. We also did a survey to give people that could not attend the meetings an opportunity to weigh in on their thoughts. And again, this is engagement. Nothing's been decided. This is to try to get the temperature of the community so that when we do build this park, it's something that the community wants. So we did have some ideas in advance, so we presented those ideas. But really, this is an opportunity to listen loud and clear. And as a part of that, it's important, and as a part of the grant agreement, is also to bring it to the board. So that's why we're here today. This is a discussion item. Again, nothing has been decided. This is to get board direction so that we can finish the grant and submit it by the September 30th deadline. Some of the feedback that came from the meeting is that the playground is outdated, and some would voice a concern that it was not safe. As we heard from some of the residents here tonight, that the playground and the park should be multi-generational, should serve more than kids, and we would agree with that. Parks are a village amenity and should serve everybody in different capacities. So whether they're kids playing in the playground, those walking through the park, our parks belong to all our residents. Surprisingly, pickleball was very popular. So after the last meeting where we had some support back and forth where it was, we did see a lot of popularity. Pickleball was brought up. We think maybe 2 courts in this park might be a good addition to add to this plan. The splash pad was polarizing. We had people in favor of it. We had people not in favor of it. Most of the people that were in attendance were not in favor of it. There was a few that were. But on the survey, which you'll see in just a second, we heard from more people that were in favor of it. This park is a very popular park for dogs. We heard and think that most dog owners are responsible. Like the idea of having maybe some signage, some bags out there for dog owners, so we can certainly add to that amenity at this park. Here's the survey here. So these are the response. Again, we had 98 responses. You can see 50% of those people that weighed in on the survey were in favor of a splash pad, traditional playground for 2 to 5-year-olds, shaded benches, and at the end there, you can see opposition to a gaga pit, but a lot of people didn't know what that was. So one of the things that we try to do when we create OSLAD grant opportunities is we try to add amenities to score points. So when the OSLAD committees look at this, they look at different amenities and you get points for different amenities. Something like a splash pad where our community doesn't have a splash pad would raise us to a higher level of consideration because we don't have that and would bring it to the community. Other amenities, so playgrounds might not score as high. Gaga ball, why it's not widely played in playgrounds, would be an amenity to add. Kids do play that. It's sort of a form of dodgeball with a short little wall within there.
Thank you for explaining that.
Absolutely. Came up with the meetings as well. So you can see the survey results there. A lot of good feedback that came from the meeting. And again, I do want to stress that nothing has been decided. This is to gain feedback and input so we can submit a good application. Once it's submitted, then we are married to that. There are opportunities for scope reductions, but really you want to avoid that kind of thing if we can. Oops, sorry. This just reinforces some of the things that I just mentioned, so we'll skip by this slide. This is the actual conception. So the resident that mentioned that this wasn't changed is correct. We have not made any changes because we want the board to see what was presented to the community, and then we'll take the notes from tonight's meeting and we'll make changes from this before we submit the final OSLAD grant. So you can see that this contains a playground for different age groups, so 5-year-olds, and 5 to 12-year-olds. You can see the existing swings, the retaining wall there, so we would add some pollinator garden into that area, the existing pavilion memorial bench. There's a plaza there with a trellis that's proposed. We did propose splash areas, splash pads for different age groups, just so older kids weren't running over smaller kids. And again, that's just an idea, nothing married here yet. Shade structure, so we know shade's important, so we're trying to add shade in all our parks. Anywhere we add benches, we're also trying to incorporate shade. You can see the gaga ball pit, the bocce ball pit, bag toss, and the existing basketball court. One of the things that people talked a lot about was golf. The group that we're working with to develop this plan and to submit the grant, they did a similar thing in, I think it was New Lenox, and they just did a putting green. And I had never heard of that. They showed us some of the pictures of it. It looks really good. It's fairly large, maybe 3 or 4 holes on it. You can chip to it, but mostly you just putt from it. It's an artificial turf, so it might be a good thing to add to this project as well. So when you look at splash pads, so this is a very simple one, and when we initially presented the plan to the community, the images we showed had all kinds of different things on there, which were probably pretty scary to the community to see. It looked more like a water park than something like this. Splash pads can be very simple, like this one here, where it's just a 20-foot radius or diameter type of concrete pad. It doesn't have to have any color. Can just have fountains that are coming out of the ground. Something like this would be used from probably mid-May, late May, maybe through mid-September. Really depends on the temperatures. These are activated by a button, so they don't run all day. It goes straight from fresh water to wastewater, so there's no filtration, there's no chemicals that go with this. The cost, comes from when you hit the water, it's just wastewater going there, so it's safe. We did not propose any restrooms because the cost of the restrooms really raises the price of projects like this, and I think it would be pretty unsightly for this park. This park has a lot of green space. I'm not sure a concrete restroom facility would make sense for this park, or that residents would appreciate that. These are just a couple more images. The one on the left there is a splash pad. It's a pretty elaborate one. Nothing, no big buckets or anything like that you would see at Centennial Park. And then a more simple one, just with fountains coming out of the ground. And again, the concepts are just conceptualizations. I mentioned the playground and the pavilion to be replaced. Nothing is set in stone. Some of the priorities can be met. So some of the people that met at the park mentioned a dog park. A dog park really probably doesn't make sense here. We have a dog park at Centennial Park. The membership is not huge, but it's well used. I don't think a dog park probably makes sense here, but again, we're here to hear what the board would like so we can plan forward from that. And then once we have that, we'll submit this as a part of the OSLAG grant, which is again due at the end of this month. So we're hoping to get some feedback from the board so we can submit a good grant.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Leafblad?
I'm looking at, I'm hearing the concern about the splash pad. I'm noting that the answers to the survey are very positive for it, so it sounds like the people who might have the smaller kids who couldn't come to the meeting voted to have it, and those who can come to the meeting don't want it. And I think that, I think that there's some valid points that have been made, but when I look at the smaller one that you in the frame with the really elaborate one with the stones, and then, so that smaller one, what would the dimensions of that smaller one be?
That's just a snapshot there. You can really create it in any size.
So like, if it was, let's say if it was like that small, so that it's just, for the kids in the park to kind of like running through a sprinkler. I wonder, and I know that nobody can answer me right now, but those people concerned about splash pads, would something that small be more palatable because it's just a little something for somebody to go get wet and then, and it's not like a beautiful elaborate one that would attract people to come to the neighborhood and play there. So I don't know, or like or maybe a water table where there's children can play with water, but it's not a full-out splash pad. Maybe there's a way to incorporate a water feature that doesn't create the same concerns that the larger splash pad would. So I don't know, I think a water table is a consideration, or maybe some other alternatives that where a child could still get, wet, but it's not so attractive that people from elsewhere would want to come, but it's just one more little thing that a child in the neighborhood could enjoy. Because neighborhoods change, as people grow up and go on, younger people move in with kids. And so it's, I wouldn't want to, I think that the notion of, I'm going on too long. I think the notion of appealing to a wide range of ages is appropriate. I think that, clearly the walking and the sitting and the golfing are important too. And I wonder if there could be alternatives to a larger splash pad. That's my question.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Lawler?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
No, I was just saying, I think based on the community feedback, we were thinking that a smaller splash pad, with just fountains coming out of the ground was probably the best fit, because when they're not on, you're not going to see anything, and then in the off season, it's just a piece of concrete.
Trustee Lawler?
Mr. Mayor, so, this is going to be a tough decision either way, because during the, when I was campaigning, we talked to a lot of people, young families, and a lot of young families said, oh, I wish we had a splash pad in Orland Park. But then obviously we're hearing today from some of the people who live around the park that this is an unwanted amenity. And, as we agreed with Dugan Park, I think, sometimes to put something too large into a neighborhood park is disruptive for the residents, and I think maybe sometimes we have to look at, is there a better place for this to be? But listening to Joanna's comments, I do agree with her, but I would like to know, and I think that instead of rushing to do this, I think we need, I'm always worried about the fact that there's just not enough engagement with residents. I know it's hard to get people out, but I guess my question is, and if we could do it, would some of the people who came tonight spoke to us about not wanting it, could we put them together maybe in a committee with some of the people who lived around the park that did want it and see if there was any way they could compromise on something that would be, doable for all of them? So, I mean, asking some of the people that spoke, would you be open to that?
All right, hang.
Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments, Jen?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy? Come back to you, John.
I have to admit, I'm one of those guys that cuts through the neighborhood from 143rd to 135th, and I have noticed more traffic around the park in the last 10 years. And I do not think a splash pad is a wise thing at this point. Maybe given a couple years where splash pads may be more dispersed around Orland, instead of making it just another splash pad, it would be great. But that traffic, I think, is not, that area, in my opinion, is not, there's a lot of traffic right now, and that would only make it a lot worse, plus children, people getting their kids out of the cars, my grandchildren getting out of there, it would be a tough sled for them. The other thing is that we threw out a couple years of planning for the pickleball court over at Dugan Park based on a handful of people, across the street. Here, we've got more than a handful of people, across the street, and, I'd say we've got to change the thing. I'd look into maybe buying 10 splash pads and get a price discount for the purchase of them all and spread them around the village, a small part at a time, and maybe make these one of the later ones. That's my opinion. But right now, I would say I'm not in favor of what's been proposed.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry, Trustee Malani, I think Trustee Leafblad wanted to be recognized.
Yeah, again.
All right, go ahead. Trustee Malani?
I got a couple questions and a couple comments. Thank you for explaining what Gaga was, because I thought it was just a bunch of babies laying in the pool. I really didn't know. So a couple things. First of all, these sections are kind of disjoined, right? There's 3 different pieces of this park. Are we thinking about putting possibly a walking path maybe around the back of it? Because
Yeah, I
you
think
mentioned the possibility of running. That'd be nice to see, kind of like a path that connected all of these, and then that could make some of the dog walkers happy if you had your, bags and everything. People could walk their dog through there. I see somebody shaking their head no back there. But, people have to walk their dogs. But people also like to walk in a safe place. Right here, you'd have to walk down the street to be able to get to all these. Is there a sidewalk there?
There's not a sidewalk, there's just that, the parking area along the park.
Right.
And there's a sidewalk adjacent to that, you can see
Okay,
it just
yeah,
above
it's
141st.
hard to tell there. So, but I think like some type of path in the back would tie it all together,
And
right?
the-
Whether
You
put
can't
the-
see it in this picture above the retention area, there's a path that cuts through there, but I don't think it
It's
closes
way-
the loop.
But it's way back there,
It
right?
is.
It doesn't really connect the pieces
No.
of the park
Right.
together, right? So the other question, back to the splash pad. I kind of have a thing with the safety and the cleanliness of the splash pad and even the water table. Water, when it's hot, petri dish, right? I mean, you get that moldy, slippery substance sometimes, and kids can slip and fall. I've seen kids slip and fall in these, and I just don't think they're the greatest thing, especially in an isolated instance like this. This is the only one. We're gonna have to make sure that it's safe, clean, and maintained, right? So it's additional maintenance, right? And then pickleball, you brought up pickleball, and I saw it's not on the concept. My assumption is the primary spot to put pickleball would not be in that retention area back there, but kind of in between these, the basketball and the splash area. But that's really close to the homes, right? And I think there's no natural sound barrier there. We just went through this issue at Dugan. Do we really want to throw 2 pickleball courts right up there, right on the edge of the street for people to hear it when they're eating breakfast? Yeah, so it's like,
If we
Don't know
did
if I love the
pickleball,
idea of pickleball there.
we would want to do it to the north, I think, of that basketball court to get as far away from the homes as we
As
could.
far away from the homes as
And
possible.
if you do only 1 or 2 courts, you might be okay there, and we can come back with another concept, so just for the whole board. So one of the reasons we wanted to get this to this board meeting was to allow time to get this feedback and move the concept along. So knowing that this could happen like this, we can refine this concept, bring it back to the next meeting, see if that's more palatable, and use that concept to submit with the OSLAC grant.
Right, yeah, we're just discussing tonight. We'll,
Right.
you know, you're going to take our feedback and come back. Will you have more resident sessions, or was that it?
That was it.
Sounds what we want.
The resident, well, at this point, I don't know if there's time to get a mailing out and get residents. We're happy to host the residents. We could probably push another survey out. Unfortunately, the deadline's on the 30th. There would be more community engagement as we build the park. So when we start designing the playground and deciding the elements of the playground, that's where there'll be more community engagement.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Leafblad.
Is there, I mean, I think that we do have places in Orland Park for like a nice splash pad. And I see that this looks like it's kind of divided by age groups, so we don't have bigger kids climbing over, you know, stomping on smaller ones, which can happen. Maybe is that something that, you know, like maybe the water feature is not the best thing for this area. I mean, you know, like in terms of the you know, from the point of view of a larger splash pad, that would be a lot of fun and attract people. Maybe we could do some kind of bigger, something like this in a different part of town, and something, and I don't even know what could be smaller, you know, or more palatable, but I think that, you know, there are enough people who answered the survey who are interested in a water feature, so you know, and I know we don't have a lot of time. So, you know, if there's something that is somewhere in between that could fit in a, like, because this is a smaller park, it's residential. I mean, you know, talking about Dugan Park, we are kind of confronted with a similar issue. We have people who live there who, you know, and their comfort level. To me, the people who live closest to it, their comfort level should be somewhat of a priority because they live there. That's their home. So, so to that end, if there, you know, maybe there is a different option, or maybe we scrap the splash pad completely.
Trustee Leafblad, your comments are done?
Yes, I'm sorry, I kind of went on for a long.
Right, 2 things, right? So pretty clearly, the splash pad is the challenge, right? So as much as I like the idea of a splash pad, just like what we went through with Dugan, and I'm pretty sure it was 52 people who objected, not just a couple who lived across it, based on the signatures I received. You know, it seems like if you got time, and, you know, George, and let's make sure this works, I think you should come up with 2 more fully designed parks, one without the splash pad, one with, given some of the amenities, what you've heard from the residents, what you heard at the meeting, what you heard from the Board of Trustees. Let's get that sketched out, because I think the critical date here is applying for the grant at the end of the year, correct? So we don't want to jeopardize losing $600,000 to do the park, but I want everybody in the room and everybody who's hearing this to understand it's not guaranteed what we're going to do yet. So I think it's pretty clear that we've got to work through the issue with the splash pad. Love the idea, you know, but it would also be, first place I thought about was at the pool, CPAC.
We would love to get one there eventually.
And I think
A
that
big
might
one.
be much like what we, I don't want to say compromise, but I'll use that word, with the pickleball courts at Dugan. It was too much for that park. This might be too much for this park. So, lack of a better word, if you could hurry up and get a couple designs and then go back out to the residents for another quick survey so we can apply.
Okay.
And then let's be committed to bringing people in as this starts to finalize.
Okay, we'll do that, and we'll bring it back on the 15th then.
George, do you have any issues with that as a plan?
What we'll do is our survey, ultimately will have those 2 options on there, and because when there's a lot of options, we see how our results go. We're just gonna bring it down to two options, with or without.
So just, does everybody in the audience understand what we're doing? So we're gonna press forward so we can apply for the grant. It's not done. We'll have some more conversations. Does it work? Yeah, no, we're going to. That's part of what I'm asking staff to do, is let's go back out and ask everybody again when you see more conceptualized plan. And then there's still the option to add or delete features, but we do have a hard deadline for the grants. Okay. Ray, is that
Thank
enough
you.
direction?
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's great. Thank you.
Appreciate everybody coming out. Sure. If you could be very brief.
Everyone that we have talked to is against the splash pad. Yet the results of the survey tell a whole different story.
Yeah, we're
Thank you for letting me.
now just reintroduce yourself.
I'm Leanne Burke. Everyone we spoke to is against the splash pad. Yet the survey shows almost unanimously that everyone wants it.
It was, my read of that data is it was split, but your point's well made.
Those
So,
had the highest
yeah,
lines.
I hear you, I hear your concern. We'll go back
But
and
we
we'll
are
look at it.
questioning the legitimacy of that survey.
Understood. We'll go back and we'll take a look at it. And we're gonna go back out to all the residents and we're gonna re-ask the question after we get farther
And
down
then
the
how do
road.
we guarantee that's legitimate as well?
At some point, you're just gonna have to trust, ma'am.
Oh, I have faith and trust beyond,
Well,
but
then, with all due respect, we let you speak, we understand your point, we have a
okay.
plan.
I'm speaking for a lot of people. Thank you.
Well understood. Thank you. Next item, please.
Proceed to number 4, 17101 Wolf Road Purchase and Sales Contract. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Lawler?
I move to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees approval of the purchase and sale contract for 17101 Wolf Road, and move to recommend the Village Board of Trustees authorization to execute the purchase and sale contract for 17101 Wolf Road.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Steve, you want to give a quick presentation?
Sure, just a little bit of background of how we got here. Back in January, we got a notice from the county. This is an unincorporated parcel, and they wanted to put a car repossession lot where people would come and get their repossessed cars. Got a lot of negative input about that from the community. There was a public meeting, which was very well attended at the Civic Center in April from Trustee Morrison, Commissioner Morrison put together. We went through all of our elected officials except the actual right ones. And we got a lot of feedback about that. The landowners did give a presentation. The village passed a resolution against the proposal. Since that time, we have negotiated with the landowner to buy the parcel for $1.3 million as part of a larger plan. So here's all the why. So how did we get to a point where we had a potential repo lot going on Wolf Road, which is one of our major arterials in a mostly surrounded residential area? So the red parcels are county zoning. It is zone C4, and that includes a whole bunch of uses which could potentially go there by right, including bars and taverns and liquor stores and live entertainment and a whole bunch of stuff. So everything that's up on the board, I'm going to try to make this as quick as I can because we're behind. We also have some other issues for this town here. So the red areas were the unincorporated areas. The stars are billboards. Billboards are not allowed in Orland Park, but these exist in unincorporated Cook County. Next to that is the flood map. So most people in this village know that when it rains really hard, this area floods really badly, including closing Wolf Road. That is a problem for emergency services. We can't get the fire trucks from the fire station to an emergency, or the ambulances, as well as our police. So the red line is the parcel that we're looking to purchase. That is adjacent to two parcels that are already in the village. The one immediately to the south we already own. So it's the orange parcel on the right. Once we purchase this parcel, we will be able to annex the parcel as well as the adjacent right-of-way. And what that does is that gives us the green areas, which will be in small enough parts that we can annex them. The light green area is area that we already own. The major purpose of this annexation and getting control over these properties, not only to deal with the future land use, but to deal with flood management and stormwater control, as well as correct these problems. Hopefully, if we can get the flooding waters under control, we will also be able to stop the flooding on Wolf Road. And so there's 3 groups here. So one's the orange parcel, and next, the north area to the north is 32 acres. The area to the south is 55 acres. And then Joey's is also completely surrounded, and that will also come into the village. There's another parcel just continuing out with the same trend. This is on 108th. There's a barn, and it also has industrial zoning. And like these other parcels that have zoning in the county that might give us uses that we don't want next to our residential areas, this will also be another one for annexation. I'll just stop there and take questions.
There's a motion and a second, or any comments or questions on this for Steve? Trustee Healy?
And this is more of a technical thing. Are we required to get 2 appraisals on the property or just 1? I mean, maybe for the lawyer?
Just one appraisal is required for property acquisition. Is that correct, Mike Stillman?
Your home rule, so you can have 0.
Yeah.
You can have 1.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So just to summarize what we're doing, this is, for lack of a better word, this stops the repossessed auto lot and gives us considerable flexibility to solve the zoning issues on South Wolf Road. Hence, quite frankly, a strategic purchase.
Yes.
And then the plan going forward is when we get control of these properties, to restore the properties so that we reduce the flooding, which has life safety impacts on South Wolf Road, correct?
Correct, yes. We would return at least portions of this area to its natural state, and also could hopefully build in some flood control to help mitigate problems for this entire portion of the creek system.
George, any other comments?
Yeah, the only element, one last comment is the former El Cortez. We are we have been in negotiations with the property owner. It's unclear if we're going to be able to work out a deal here, and if we can't, then we would proceed with the eminent domain route. Obviously, that building is in very, very poor shape. It is entirely within the, as you can see in the floodplain map there. And so that, along with the bus barn and the existing parcel that the village owns between those 2 parcels, would result in our stormwater basin that Steve talked about.
Any other comments or questions, or we're ready to call the roll?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy?
I had not heard about this till Mayor Dodge brought it up in a private meeting, and I think that I want to thank you for following through with this. A lot of my friends don't want me to, are kind of against this purchase, but I am all for it. I think that we have to make Wolf Road into I think Jim agrees, we have to make Wolf Road look good, and if original condition, I'm not so sure that looks good, but if we could just make it look at the best you can. So, but thanks, Jim.
Yeah, Trustee Healy, appreciate that. Just like I said, it's a strategic purchase for the village to solve this problem, which has been going on for years.
Yeah, at this point, the county is responsible for property maintenance and code enforcement, and I think we can do a better job.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Trustee Lawler.
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence. Aye. Trustee Leaflet.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll proceed to number 5, debt presentation follow-up for discussion only.
George, the questions that we wanted to pose, or questions you heard from the trustees?
Yeah, and really this was a follow-up to, Trustee Healy had some follow-up questions. There's a lot here, so maybe if Trustee Healy is all right, we could push this off to another meeting. But I believe all the questions have been answered of how we got to the commitment for what was originally considered to be $251 million in general obligation debt for the village. Just going back and revisiting everything, it's $271 million actually.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy?
George, my problem is just with that word committed. To me, it means we've got a legal document, we're in. There's no going back. And we're not at that, we weren't at that point. So I just, maybe there's a different jargon that you're using that in my 50 years, we're committed. We're not committed to anything. We're not committed to any loans or anything. So you look at that debt now in the financial statements, we look at that debt, it's done. It exists, it's real. But to say that we've committed to this, I just don't recall voting for any TIFs or anything. Again, we voted to plan for them. And as part of that planning, obviously there'd be loans, but none of that had ever come together. So I just think it's just misleading saying that we had committed. If you please, that word drives me nuts from my accounting background. So that's one. And the other thing I just want to mention is that I was going to ask, it was on the presentation of the debt.
On the staff report?
The video presentation.
Of the last time?
No, this time.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out that, if you could go down a couple pages, it says, keep going, whoops. A little farther down, it says there's 3 ways to raise money, it said. And one of them was to borrow money.
Yeah.
Or to cut the budget or make efficiency.
This is on the grocery tax. That's what.
That's on the grocery tax?
Yeah.
Next item.
That's the next item.
Pardon me. Never mind.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Trustee Healy, thank you for your comments. I understand the point you're making. And when George started building that presentation, my understanding was we were on a glide path. The plan, including all the potentials, would get us into the $270 million worth of debt. So that's where that came from. And to your point, we're going to have some hard conversations as a board in the upcoming budget because we have to bring that number down. So I think we're in agreement on that piece.
Yeah, just watch the word committed, or I'll be committed one of these days. So.
How about a glide path? I like that. We're on a glide path.
All right. We ready for the next item?
Yes. Number 6, an ordinance creating a new Chapter 26, imposing a grocery tax of Title VII of the Orland Park Village Code. Looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Lawler?
I move to recommend to the village board to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance creating Chapter 26 of the Title VII of the Municipal Code implementing a municipal grocery retailer's occupation tax and municipal grocery service occupation tax in the village of Orland Park.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Okay.
I have a question on the presentation.
Sure.
Once he gives it.
Let's run through the presentation. Chris, if you could do this quickly.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So yes, I'm here to discuss imposing a continuation of the Illinois state tax of the grocery tax, which we are already currently paying for. As I said, the Illinois Department of Revenue have always collected 1% on grocery tax items. It's more for unprepared food is what it's for. This revenue has been distributed to municipalities. It is not on a per capita, please excuse my error there. But it is directly dispersed to the municipalities. So recently, the 2025 Illinois budget state legislators have discontinued this tax. It actually doesn't affect their budget as far as expenses go, but we'll find out later how it actually increases their revenues as well. So, but it does directly affect our budget. So, what we did recently conclude is that we're looking at between $4 and $4.5 million annually as a hit to our revenues. So as I said, grocery tax is for unprepared food. It's meant to have a resident come in, grab their food, bring it home, and prepare it for themselves. So it doesn't count for fast food items or anything like that where it's ready to go. The state has, like I said, with the repeal, they transferred the authority to all municipalities. Where home rule, we could have done this in a way, but they gave it to everybody, hoping that all the other municipalities would then begin implementing their own tax. And I'll get to that too in a second. But for our options we're left with right now, to your question, is to impose this tax, which is basically just continuation of what we're already paying for. Or we can cut expenses, which that's fine, but then we're reducing our quality level of services to our residents. And then other option is find efficiencies, which we're already always doing. We're always reviewing our, processes and trying to cut where we can. Pros and cons to this, there's a lot more pros than there are cons. It's not a new tax we're replacing. So we're just taking the authority instead of the state. There's very minimal competitive advantage. As you'll see, there's a lot of surrounding municipalities that are also imposing this tax. So it's not like they're gonna leave, come here, and then we would collect on it. So, and then it's a tax to not only the residents, but also non-residents too, who come from out of town. And then it's the lowest in comparison of all of our taxes. It's the lowest rate of all of them that they're actually paying.
Good, George, I have a quick question for you. Pretty much all the other municipalities are doing this, right?
That's correct.
Essentially, the state ended their collection. Now we all have to basically vote to continue it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
What, did you want to comment, Mike?
Our firm represents
Microphone.
a lot of municipalities and, is it on?
No.
That's red.
I know.
Just speak up. You got a loud voice.
All right, I think it's on now, no? Our municipalities and our firm, we represent quite a few, but I personally represent 4, and you're the 4th. All of them have passed, including Lamont, which is local, Chicago Ridge, Marina Park, and I know of not one municipality that hasn't done this.
Chris, is there anything else in the presentation?
Yes, as you see, I'm getting into, these are the other surrounding municipalities. We like to
You
leave
should have
others,
just flipped the
but
slide. Go ahead.
the order's out of it. So, and then I did have another good one. Effect on residents is no change. It's no change from where we're at. It doesn't apply to prepared foods, alcohol, tobacco, or dietary supplements. Those have the sales tax applied to those.
Okay.
And then, sorry, I was prepared for a longer version.
No, Chris, that's fine. I guess, George, do we have any questions on the board?
This is missing, actually, hasn't been updated, but it does estimate that our handling fee for the state would be about $90,000 a year just to collect on the 4.5 million.
Very generous of them.
Absolutely. I wonder why they did this.
Okay. George, any other comments? I want to open this up for board discussion. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Mayor Dutch, we had 3 options there to raise the tax, cut expenses, or find efficiencies. What expenses did you consider cutting?
Quite a bit, actually, Trustee Healy.
If we could cut the expenses, what are we waiting for?
Yep. Well, there's for every action, right, there's an equal reaction. So
But I mean, if expenses, are not, and for between efficiencies and cutting expenses, our budget, we spend how many million a year?
So the general fund, which is what is impacted by this, is around 60 million.
And there's no efficiencies, and there's no expenses to be cut.
So we present a couple options here. But like I said, every option has an impact, right? So the first one, Centennial Park West, that our annual debt service for the next 20 years is $1 million. So if we can somehow sell it for the amount that we paid for it, and is that a realistic option? Probably not. The police training center, same thing. We can do that. We can cancel the Public Works optimization project. $4.5 million equals 30 police officers. $4.5 million equals 56 Public Works staff. And we can go through all of these, you know.
Well, right, and I would say I've got 3 I'd like to see enacted today. They might say I have 3, they, it's completely different. So I just, we should consider cutting expenses. I'm not voting for this tax, to increase this tax, because, frankly, there's 2 reasons. One, I'd like to see it, I haven't seen the whole picture in a budget, how this all fits together. We've been asking for a budget for, there's been mention of how does this fit into the budget for the whole scheme as we spend so much money on additional salaries and this and that and this and that. We haven't seen what's the big picture? I haven't seen it. So until I'm convinced that we have spending under control and that we're good stewards, that this new administration is good stewards of the money, I'm waiting for that to show through. I will, but so far it hasn't.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Leafblat?
I'd first like to point out that every single person up here is a part of the new administration. In addition, I think what we're talking about is a tax that has been in place already. So to not know how much the income of this tax is, or to know the effect, would mean that, that the last few years have been just, it's been part of the last few years in this village, right? In the budget and everything, is that right?
Correct.
So, I'm not clear on how anyone could not know of the effect of the tax. I know that, I know there's the local municipalities that are keeping it. So essentially, we're keeping what the state already imposed, except we get to manage it as opposed to the state.
Correct.
Which means in the future, if the village, if depending on future budget planning, we can change it. And we
Yes.
don't have to depend on the state.
Yes, and going forward too, when we enact this, we impose this tax, if we do, in January of next year, it'll be in separate disbursement to us. So we would be able to identify that amount and monitor it going forward too, just to really see the true impact.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman. why not?
Justin Malani?
I guess let's kind of call what's really going on here for a second. Back when the mayor and the new trustees were running for office, they quote-unquote pledged to repeal the grocery tax during their campaign. That was a clever distraction, I would assume, because it's quite interesting because it was already being repealed by the state, right? So it was being done already. So now here we are trying to fill the $4.5 million gap that the state took away. So we heard something earlier on the debt commitments, quote-unquote, right? We're making some assumptions here that those commitments were a fact and that were going to happen. A lot of them were just ideas. They were just commitments. So there could be money to save there because we may not move forward on those commitments that we're talking about. Hell, if I made a commitment just by having conversations with somebody about an idea, I'd stop talking to people. Now let's look at this $4.5 million gap that we're talking about. So we need to address our financial needs here, obviously, but let's break something down. We're about to pay $1.3 million for a parcel of land, possibly $350,000 to $600,000 with El Cortez if we don't go eminent domain. We just hired an outreach coordinator. We've got consulting services for media. We've got tree pruning. We've got additional expenses for the Taste of Orland. Let's see, we also had some new job roles that we're implementing, right? So if I use the mayor's term, if I use some ocular math, so I'm eyeballing it, I believe we could cover at least $3 million or more of that lost revenue just on the projects that we've recently pushed through, right? That's a significant amount of money that could be saved if we're a little more frugal and a little more efficient, the other 2 bullet points that were up there, right? So let's ask ourselves, is this really necessary? Is this fair to the taxpayers to implement just because you've decided to go on a spending spree since May? And I guess you're the final vote. It's your decision to make. So,
Mr. Mayor?
you have that.
Hang on, Trustee Malani, you finished? Trustee Lawler's asking for recognition. Trustee Lawler?
First of all, I'd like to say, nowhere in my campaign did I ever pledge to repeal the grocery tax. So that is a misstatement right there. And I would ask you to show me proof and when and where that was said. But if you want to condemn us for, trying to increase some of the services that are needed and why people voted for us, let's look at some of the expenses. We spent $13 million on Centennial Park West. How much money are we losing in the concert series this year?
We're going to come back with the exact amount, but the best case scenario was $500,000.
$500,000. Zero economic impact to the village. So to sit there and say that we're on a spending spree because we're trying to trim trees and we're hiring people to make things better for Orland residents, you're going to condemn us when you spent $1.5 million this year for 3 concerts that we lost a ton of money on. So I'll leave my comments at that, because it irritated me that you want to make this political. And, this is a real issue. I do see that, unfortunately, the governor of Illinois, and I read this, has raised our taxes quite a bit over the last 7 years. And yeah, that bothers me. And he's putting the burden on municipalities to try and cut back the expenses. And, but yeah, we could cut $4 million out of this, of which I would like to remind people that a large percent of that revenue comes from people outside of the village of Orland Park. But yes, you want to be the first one to fire a police officer or someone from Public Works and tell people that, your parks aren't going to be as nice as they are? I would rather pay a little more in taxes than have the value of my home go down $50,000, $60,000. So I'm for this. I think it's smart, because I don't know where our savings are going to come. Because in the last couple of years, I feel that the services in this village have gone to hell, excuse my language. And, you can ride around the neighborhoods and you can see some of the parks, some of our medians, and a whole lot of other areas. So I'll leave my comments at that.
Any other comments or questions? Because I'd like to move forward. Trustee Lawrence?
Mr. Mayor, I remind myself that this tax has been in place and that the village has been using the proceeds from this tax to run its operations, and that effectively we are just continuing this tax. This is not a new tax. And in addition, to the extent that we, during the budgeting process, during optimization, during use of the new employees to perhaps bring in additional funds through grants, et cetera, to the extent that they help increase revenues, perhaps there comes a point in time when we can decrease this tax from what it has been. Thank you.
I have a question, Chris, for you or for George. When did the state of Illinois say they're getting out of this business? It was late 23?
It was earlier this year.
It was early 24 when it started, and when it initially started, the governor said, we're going to get rid of grocery tax, period, end of story.
And so, from a timing perspective, just making sure I got my facts right, the prior board could have voted to take this action going into the 25 budget, which I inherited.
That's
so
correct.
The $4 million of missing money could have been addressed by the prior board, or they could have taken the vote to put this tax in place before the election. Do I have my timing right, George?
That's correct.
Okay. If there's no further comments or questions, let's call the roll.
Trustee Lawler?
Aye.
Trustee Lawrence?
Aye.
Trustee Leafblat?
Aye.
Trustee Healy? Trustee Malani?
No.
Mayor Dodge?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Motion. Let's
The non-scheduled citizens and visitors for public comment on items relevant to village business.
do any comments? If you could, we'll time you. You could introduce yourself.
Brian Weaver. I do live near Evergreen Park. Came from Evergreen Park, ironically enough. I also did not know about the Gaga pit. I thought it was a mosh pit for Lady Gaga, but I was mistaken. I did promise my little neighbor around the corner I would ask this question: if they start construction on the park, will they still be able to play while the construction's going on? I don't expect an answer, but I told Audrey I would ask the question. So Audrey, this was for you. Last thing I thought of myself, and there were 54 people at that park meeting, possibly a Frisbee golf station. I think 2 of those commercial grade Frisbee golf nettings, $500 a piece, maybe 150, 200 feet apart. So there's plenty of room in that park for that. That's all I got.
All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Leaflet,
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
there's a motion and a second. For everybody in the audience, we're going to take a 5-minute break before we start the next meeting. Call the
Okay.
roll, please.
Trustee Leaflet,
Aye.
trustee Lawler,
Aye.
trustee Lawrence. Aye. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Dodge.
Aye.
Adjournment time is 7:45.